Hi guys, I just thought I'd I'm reading this book here, and it seems to outline very well who and what the law merchant is and who and what the Illuminati is, in my opinion, in my understanding. So I'm just going to read a bit of it to you from the first chapter. I'll try to find a link where you can download this yourself. I'm not really sure how to do this. Maybe I'll post this PDF on my server for you to download, or find a link or something. But it's called Woe Unto You Lawyers by Fred Rodell, professor of law, Yale University, written in 1939. And we have a quote from the Bible here because it is very pertinent. Woe unto you lawyers, for ye have taken away the key of knowledge. Ye entered not in yourselves, and them that were entering in ye hindered. So it's saying that you've taken knowledge secretly to yourself, and you've hidden it from your fellow man. So here are the contents. I'm going to read chapter 1, Modern Medicine Men, and sort of give my opinion and thoughts on it as I go. Again, these are just my thoughts. Do your own research. I'm making these videos because I didn't know any of this 5 years ago, and if I had watched my own videos back then, I would be very thankful to have the information. So, because it's a lot of studying and looking into law and legalese and putting pieces of puzzles together and little parts of the clues that I believe that I'm providing little parts of the puzzle here to people for them to put into their own knowledge base, and in order to get to revelation. So here we go. No lawyers will like this book. It isn't written for lawyers. It's written for the average man, and its purpose is to try to plant in his head at the least, a seed of skepticism about the whole legal profession, its works and its ways. In case anyone should be interested, I got my own skepticism early. Before I ever studied law, I used to argue occasionally with lawyers, a foolish thing to do at the time. When, as frequently happened, they couldn't explain their legal points so that they made any sense to me, I brashly began to suspect that maybe they didn't make any sense at all. But I couldn't know. One of the reasons I went to law school was to try to find out. At law school I was lucky. 10 of the men under whom I took courses were sufficiently skeptical and common-sensible about the branches of law they were teaching, so that unwittingly, of course, they served together to fortify my hunch about the phoniness of the whole legal process. In a sense, they are the intellectual godfathers of this book. And though all of them would doubtless strenuously disown their godchild, I think I owe it to them to name them. Listed alphabetically they are: Thurman Arnold, now Assistant Attorney General of the United States; Charles E. Clark, now Judge of the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals; William O. Douglas, now Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. So you can read all these people here, and you'll see they're all attorneys and lawyers and have to do with the United States Incorporated Corporation of Lawyers. By the time I got through law school, I decided that I never wanted to practice law. I never have. I am not a member of any bar. If anyone I should want not unreasonably to know what on earth I am doing or trying to do teaching law, he may find a hint of the answer toward the end of this book. When I was mulling over the notion of writing this book, I outlined my ideas about the book and about the law to a lawyer who is not only able but also extraordinarily frank and perceptive about his profession. And here it kind of sums it up. Sure, he said, but why give the show away? That clinched it. Okay, I'm just going to say a note here. There's a definition in the law books, legal dictionaries, called negotiorum gestioris. And that's basically where a court jester comes from, because they put on the song and dance in the court, and they put on the big show, basically while they're selling you the law, right? So they take you and your controversy between, let's say, you and your husband or wife. They take you into the courtroom, and the jesters sit there. The judge and the two attorneys for either side sit there and put on their nice little song and dance show and pretend like they're fighting over justice for you, when all they're doing is laughing behind your back saying, we're going to take him for $1 million. Yeah, $1 million. Then they go back in their little room and they decide, and it's just a big scam. And everybody comes out of that courtroom with crap loads of money, your money, except for you and the one you had controversy with. So what they do is they profit off humanity's controversy. Okay, guys, I just thought I'd insert here. This is from chooseyourside.org. This is a site I put together of various materials that I've gathered from what others have told me and my own research. But I just thought I'd plug in here the law definition of negotiorum gestio, because this relates to the court jester. Okay, that's where jester comes from. So, negotiorum gestio, Latin, management of another's affairs. That is the same as an attorney. That's what an attorney does. Roman and civil law. We're under Roman law, in case you didn't know that. A quasi-contractual situation in which an actor, okay, remember how Shakespeare said all the world is stage? Well, he's giving you clues there. All the world is a stage. All the politics, all the men and women, merely actors. All the politicians, all the judges and attorneys are acting. This is a big show when they bring you into court, because all they're doing is going to take your money. They put on a big song and dance as the court jester, and they laugh behind your back as they take most of your estate, which is your money and your emotional state and your property and everything. So a quasi-contractual situation in which an actor, negotiorum gestor, manages or interferes in the business transaction of another person in that person's absence, without authority but out of concern or friendship. By such conduct, the actor is bound to conduct the matter to a conclusion and to deliver the transaction's proceeds to the person, who likewise must reimburse the actor for any expenses incurred. That's the whole monetary part of the attorney situation. A negotiorum gestio does not exist if the gestor acted self-interestedly, or if the owner expressly forbade the gestor from acting on the owner's behalf. Okay, so I'm just going to let you read that. I also wanted to show you the definition of naam here, N-A-A-M. And naam, that's where the word name comes from. So when they gave you a name when you were born, when they patented your last name, they took ownership of you as chattel. Okay, they think you're movable goods upon the land that the Pope claimed way back when. He made a claim, wrote it on a papal bull, claimed all the land, and then because they named you, in law, nothing exists to an attorney unless they name it. So if they name it, then they own it. So what they did was they got you to accept. They gave you a last name, which is your descriptor, right? Your first name is your Christian name. It's your given name from your parents. That's your name. But then that last name, like, that describes you, basically, like John's son. That's John's son, or blacksmith, Smith or something. They consider it in legal land as a descriptor, so they own you. So naam, name, the attaching or taking of movable goods and chattels. That's again your stock. You are stock to them on the farm. When they bring you into court, here's negotiable. The word negotiation, as used by writers upon mercantile law, that's admiralty law, what I was talking about on the high seas, means the act by which a bill of exchange or promissory note is put into circulation by being passed by one of the original parties to another person. When you go into court, they've made you into like a thing. I don't know. I can't explain it fully, and I don't fully understand it, but I know that they've put you out of the living world into the dead world. Okay, this is called civil death. And when you evidence yourself to be civilly dead, you act as a fiction. If you hire an attorney, you've done it. Boom. They know that they've got you. It's all these things that you do that show them that you're fooled and you can be moved around as a pawn on the exchequer table by them. Okay? When you're aware of this, and you go through revelation and you understand this, they're not able to do this to you anymore because you're living and you won't have this. You can call them out. You can call them out right to their face and expose them, and they know that they can't, that you're not an infant. Anyway, so I already explained how courts are banks, or maybe I do later in the video, but anyway, courts are banks. So when you go in there as that fictional pawn, you are now a negotiable instrument. And it's all banking, right? Like the judge sits on the bench, which is the bank, and now they bring you into the court and you're negotiable now because you're not living anymore. You're not a man. You've evidenced as a thing. A res, it's called. And they can now bank you and make money from their stock that they got. Okay, good. Here it is. Luckily, what I was just saying. See here the definition of nomen. That's nomenclature, naming a thing. These attorneys, nothing can exist unless it's named in Latin. And so nothing can exist in their legal land. I mean, under the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the concept land, land of fiction, Satan's land, the color of law land. So read this. Latin, in the civil law, a name, the name, style, or designation of a person. A person is not a living thing. It's a dead entity, by the way. Go look that up. Properly, the name showing to what gens or tribe he belonged, as distinguished from his own individual name. Like I was saying, you get a Christian name, that's your first and middle name, the name that was given to you by your parents, not your gens or tribe name, that's the name that they've patented, the praenomen. From his surname or family name, cognomen, and from any name added by way of descriptive title. So they're describing you, and the word describe means to rewrite, scribe, write. So it means to rewrite you again. It's making another. It's not the real original thing, they're rewriting it. They're doing a new thing that's fictional. And it's also what I understand to be the image of a man, the created man. This is the difference between possibly Cain and Abel. Cain was the created man. I can go show you the definition of Cain here in a second. But it's the created man. It's the fictional one, the one that kills his brother. Because he's dead himself, but he kills his brother by putting his brother into civil death. This is a very weird way of looking at it. It's different. I know it's new to a lot of people, but this is just how a lot of these things have clicked for me by reading these definitions. So Abel was the living brother. He was the living son that the actual creator created, the living man. But the other, Cain, was the created man that was created by the devil, or what it was, he's the fallen one. So he was created, the fictional image of a man, like this, like I'm talking about here, how they create a new entity that doesn't exist. It's very hard to explain, but attorneys live in this fictional world of things that don't exist. Like, it's crazy to us humans. Anyway, now that I've thoroughly confused you, let's go look at Cain. So this was the definitions page on Choose Your Side, the law definitions. These definitions come from like Black's Law Dictionary, usually 4th edition or before, which are the really old ones, that's where you're going to find the real good meat and the real definitions, because they change things after that. After the 5th definition, they start they really hide things from you and stuff. So let's go to the etymology page. That's where these words stem from. Go to Cain. There, Cain. The elder son of Adam and Eve. From Hebrew Cain, literally created one. Okay, so I connect that with Abel was the real life, like me, like you, like they're a real life. But Cain is the created image of the man. It's the created one. From Semitic stem Qyn, to form, to fashion. So it's like creating it. Okay, to raise Cain is first recorded in 1840. Surnames McCain. Isn't that interesting too? How Barack Obama is like translated. The Hebrew is from lightning from heaven. That's what Barack Obama means. And here is Cain. And John McCain, like, I think that's really interesting. Here's cognomen, where the word stems from, like I was just talking about names, 1809, from the Latin nomen, name, third or family name of a Roman citizen. Okay, so Roman citizens are slaves. That is the lowest form of thing you can be if you identify yourself as a citizen. I know people don't want to hear that, but if you're a citizen, you're a plebeian, you're a slave. In Roman law. We're still under Roman law, remember that. We still have the senates, the Congress. That's what it is. It's the same thing. Citizens under Senate. It's the same way. Under Roman law. Okay, so again, your first and second name are your Christian names. Those were given by your parents. And then the third or family name indicates your own, your genus or whatever. Not genius, genus. What else can I... Here, Congress, okay? The word. Body of attendants. Also, meeting of armed forces. Right? It's all about war. Coming together of people, a meeting, a friendly meeting, a hostile encounter. Meet with, fight with. So what that kind of says to me is controversy. Basically, it's all about controversy. Controversy is the law merchant profits from your controversy, right? It's when you get in a fight with your husband and you're breaking up and you go to a lawyer and you go to figure it out. No, you can't figure it out by yourselves and not pay anyone, but you go to a lawyer and they take all your money and they profit on your controversy. And what the word controversy stems from is con and trover, and con means with, and trover is like treasure trove. It's like a hidden stash of something. Like, so con trover is with treasure sort of thing. Okay, what else? Anyway, I could keep going and going, but I will stop now because I was just wanting to show you negotiorum gestor. There's so much here, you guys. You have no idea. There's bank, a bench or seat that the judge sits on. Look, bank, a bench or seat, the bench or tribunal occupied by the judges. The seat of judgment, a court. When the judgment comes around, it's not happening in heaven, guys. It's going to happen here. The judgment's going to happen, and it's going to has to do with banking. The full bench or full court, the assembly of all the judges in a court, a sitting bank. Okay, so you can read that yourself. It's all banking. A turn, to transfer or turn over to another lord. Where a lord aliened his seniority, he might, with the consent of the tenant, and in some cases without, attorn, or transfer the homage and service of the latter to the new alienee, or new lord. So, in modern law, but they're not operating under modern law. Law is just interpretations, remember that, okay? The attorneys interpret it any damn way they feel they want to. That's the way that's what law is. It's men's interpretations of rules and crap. So they may interpret it in a modern way, but if the law is written, the older it is, it can be taken that way, basically. It just depends on how long and how hard you fight. And like, most of us don't want to fight that stuff, but they love it. So they'll sit there and fight it all out and try to prove this and say this and that, but the law says blah blah blah. But where the real meat is in the real old stuff. So just because it's new doesn't mean it overrides anything. It can always be interpreted in any way. In fact, that's what they go on is the interpretation. You sit there, and if you ever observe like the way Jewish children are taught, they're taught to sit there and like word spar with each other. I don't know if anyone's seen any documentaries on that, but they continuously go in circles, and they do all these, they fight with words, and they continuously challenge each other, but what if this means this, and if that doesn't mean that, and they go around and around, and all this, it's crazy, but it explains why many Jewish people with that education come up to be lawyers and bankers, because they excel at that. And it's not all Jews behind this. They just happen to be taught a lot of this stuff. So anyone can be a banker or a lawyer. So don't say it's the Jews behind this, because that is ridiculous. It's anyone who engages in this fictional attorned behavior. Okay, I think I'm going to stop now because I babbled on enough. Haha, no pun intended.